You've had your say on your ratings for the players tonight. This is what you think for Brighton. Berdy Kadioglu with the top score. Robert Sanchez with the top score for Chelsea, who certainly made some very, very big saves tonight, didn't he? All right, then, let's hear from the Chelsea head coach, Liam Rosenior. He's chatting with Johnny Phillips.
Liam, it's another league defeat without scoring. In many respects, did that feel like the worst of the lot in terms of the performance?
By far. I was unacceptable in every aspect of the game, unacceptable in attitude. I keep coming out and defending the players. That's indefensible, that performance tonight. The amount of the goals we conceded, the amount of duels that we lost, the lack of intensity in the team. And something needs to change drastically here right now.
What have you said to the players? Why do you think they put that performance in?
Why? We need to look in the mirror. I need to look in the mirror, but I can't keep coming out here defending some of the things that we're seeing. Manchester United, genuinely, the result wasn't there. Felt we turned a corner, but the general attitude, spirit was lacking. Determination, with maybe 3 or 4 out of the 11. That's nowhere near enough for this club. It's nowhere near enough. I can't come out and lie. I'll tell the truth. That was an unacceptable performance in every area.
The start looked particularly difficult as well, and the warning signs were there even before the goal.
The goal's terrible. We have an easy header, we missed a header. The passage before the goal upset me even more. I think there were 4 or 5 occasions where we can actually show some moral courage and quality and take the ball down and play. We just kicked the ball back to Brighton. That's not a lack of. They can speak about a lack of confidence or results not going our way. That doesn't represent anything that I ever want to see in it. I won't ever see it again.
Does it feel like a lack of professionalism then when you sort of cage it like that?
The performance in terms of professionalism wasn't there. It's a really, really difficult night. The most difficult night, not even so far here at this magnificent football club in my career. Because some of the things I was witnessing today, I never ever want to see again.
And the fact that it didn't get better as well, was that equally concerning as the game wore on? There was a little patch at the start of the second half when you restructured, but after that, it looked like they were throwing the towel in to some degree.
Yeah, you have to ask the players. I never ever want to see anyone, whether you're playing for this club, at this elite football club or at any football club, to be even accused of throwing the towel in. It's unacceptable. That's all I'm going to say. I'm hurting. I feel numb. Because that doesn't represent me. That doesn't represent the football club in any way, and that has to change starting with the FA Cup semi-final on Sunday.
If you look at the distances covered, not just in this game, but in every single Premier League game this season, Chelsea have been second to their opponents. That goes back way beyond your time here as well. Do you think that's a sign of a deeper malaise?
I don't want to go into that right now. I have my own thoughts, I have my own feelings. I've discussed in depth about how this club, regardless of who's the manager or what needs to happen at this football club, for this club to be where it needs to be. For this club to be where it needs to be. It's not about me. It's about this football club. Chelsea represents fight and spirit, determination, and that was lacking in every department this evening.
You didn't seem to have too many options on the bench as well. I know Garnacho came on and made a little bit of difference for a bit, but there were 7 players who were 21 or younger. Again, this goes back before your time. Do you think that it shows the wider issues with the way the squad is structured, given how much has been spent here?
We've had injuries. It's not an excuse, it's a reality. But that team that we put out today was far better in terms of its engagement to the game. And for me, I will pick a team on Sunday that represent the club in the correct manner.
Does Sunday become a huge game now because you're slipping down the league and it looks like you're falling out of the European places? Does everything point to Sunday? Will that define the entire season?
This was a huge game and we didn't hit the mark anywhere near. Every game between now and the end of the season is a huge game, and it needs to look like that in the way that we play.
And what can be done between now and Sunday? Because it does look a squad bereft of ideas in that sense and bereft of effort.
Well, that's your opinion. I have to sit with the staff. And we have to make sure we get it right for Sunday.
Appreciate your time. Thank you.
Thank you.
Well, an incredibly honest interview there from Liam Rosenior.
Yeah.
A couple of things picked up on there. Unacceptable, indefensible. They need to look at themselves in the mirror. Something needs to change. Yeah. What did you make of it?
Well, we hit the nail on the head. You know, it's totally true. I mean, you're looking at a man that's under intense pressure to kind of save his job as such. And he's bitterly disappointed that he's had a group of players that have gone out and performed like that He's come out time and time before and not made excuses, but there's been excuses in terms of injuries and stuff. But you know, he will be so disappointed that the lacklustre performance, and in terms of game plan and know-how, and they said there about courage, about getting on the ball and just trying to play. But the biggest thing was, you know, it's far too easy for the Brighton players. You know, not getting close enough to them, stop getting their head down, stopping passes going forward, and this was just an apologetic.
Yeah, listen, it was an honest interview, wasn't it? It was a fair reflection, an honest interview, and I've seen him time and time again come out and defend his squad, defend his players when maybe he didn't have to. Tonight you couldn't defend tonight, as he said. I feel slightly sorry for him in terms of, I feel the squad let him down, I feel individually as the players let him down. And he's under pressure. You know, you want him to do well. A young English coach has got an opportunity at a massive club. He's in a tough moment at this moment in time. He needs his squad to produce more for him. But I thought it was a really honest interview, yeah.
There's not long to go until the end of the season, only a couple of games left. Is there pressure on him, or is this one of those things where he's got this till the end of the season and he just has to try and find a way to get this momentum now?
There was huge pressure on him as soon as he stepped foot and took the job. You know, any coach, manager that goes into Chelsea will have that pressure. I'd be shocked if any decision was made before the end of the season, just in terms of keeping a base, a bit of a, you know, consolidation towards the end of the season. Sunday is a huge game in terms of getting to a cup final. I think he'll be there to the end of the season, and then there'll be discussions to be had in terms of for what goes on down the line. But you know, it's a tough time for him, and I'd literally repeat what Gary said there. We want him to do well. I was fortunate enough to share a dressing room with Liam. I know him really well. You want him to do well, a new young coach that's coming into it, but he's going through a bit of a tough time at the moment. You
can see these are the quotes from Bedad Eghbali, the Chelsea co-owner. He said this before the Manchester United defeat. He got off to a great start. We've had a tough past 5-6 matches, but I think we're behind Liam. Of course, it's a results business, but we think he can be successful long term. Ultimately, the objective at a club like Chelsea is you've got to win trophies. They do still have a chance of doing that starting Sunday.
Yeah, of course. And like I said, it's massive now. The FA Cup is huge. I agree with Steve. I don't think they'll make any rash decisions from now to the end of the season. I don't think there's much point. I also feel they've employed Liam in terms of a bigger picture, in terms of maybe getting to the summer, refreshing the squad, maybe introducing some more experienced players, etc. So I don't think they'll make any rash decisions. However, we said before, you know, there's 3 points separating 12th or whatever. So a couple more losses, you could find yourself mid-table. The FA Cup's huge now. The FA Cup's huge now. And Chelsea want to win trophies. A young squad, before Liam come here, the young squad comes with inconsistencies. And that's what we see. And that's what we've been seeing. So I don't think they'll make any rash decisions. Like I said, the FA Cup now is big.
One of the big things that he said in his interview as well was the lack of effort from some of the players.
Yeah.
Does that surprise you when they're in a situation like they're in at the moment, when they needed a win so badly tonight?
Yeah, and I think, like we said before, we've been in these scenarios and, you know, experiences in seasons where there are highs and lows, and when in the lows, the only way that you get out of it is hard work. That is the only way. And then you start gathering a little bit of confidence, which is what these players need as individuals and as a collective. But you've got to double down. You know, the hard yards, you know, you have to do the recovery run that's going to be 50 yards. That can't be 45, that can't be 48. It has to be the whole lot. The short, sharp, intensity ones, you have to stop players playing and then build your way into games. If you're not going to win games, you don't lose them. You know, but the way they've set up tonight and come out and letting in the goal within the first 3 minutes, it's a long way out from then.
But as a footballer, that is probably the worst insult in some ways. You know what I mean? Because sometimes you go out as a footballer, you make mistakes. You know, that's part and parcel of the game. But to be seen to be given a lack of effort, there's no excuse with that.
No.
There's no excuse with that. And I think that's probably the harsh reflection on tonight when you look at that. And like I said, the last 20 minutes especially, I was watching that game thinking, they've give up, is that a strong word? Do you know what I mean? They've kind of accepted, they've lost the game. And that's probably the worst thing.
Chris Sutton on commentary said a lot of things about the Chelsea performance. Clearly, he was very disappointed with the way that they performed tonight. Does it feel like, though, if they get a victory on Sunday in the FA Cup, that's all they need at the moment, just to give them that little bit of hope? Or is this deeper, do you think?
Yeah, listen, results change culture, changes environment, changes confidence straight away. If they go to Wembley and they get a result and they get through to a cup final and they're fortunate enough to win a trophy at the end of the season, it will be a little bit of a sparkle on towards the end of the season. But the situation, the scenario that they're in now isn't good enough for Chelsea Football Club. And we'll know that from previous, and when I was there, when you was there, the demands about winning titles and competing at the very, very top. The be all and end all of it is, and Chelsea fans will say this, is that this team at the moment is nowhere near to be competing with the likes of Arsenal's, Manchester City's at the moment.
OK, so Chelsea down to 7th, Brighton going up to 6th with a very, very big performance. And we look at these match stats and we thought maybe in the second half they might change things around. Chelsea changed the formation. They obviously made a couple of substitutions. But when you look at this, how damning is that? Yeah,
hugely damning, and it tells the story of where Chelsea are at the moment. Really vulnerable, low on confidence. This is the one. This is the one for me. The distance covered. You know, I think it's been the story of their season. No, but like we said there, when times are tough, when your back's against the wall, you need to come out. That work ethic, it has to be there. It's the only way it gets you out of it. You know, then you start building confidence and a little bit of momentum. But we can see there you can take away, you can take out Cole Palmer, Esteval and João Pedro. You know, two of them are your top goal scorers in the Premier League, and that's going to hurt. You know, your expected goals and going forward, but. You know, as a team and you're working hard, that's damaging there for me in my eyes.
Listen, Steve, it's not just the result tonight, was it? It was the performance as well that went with it. I mean, you're saying about no goals, you're not going to score no goals when you have 0 shots on target. Yeah. The possession, the distance, you know, it shows that the Brighton player was just covering more distance, running a lot harder today. Like I said, you were second to everything tonight. I was excited before the game in terms of a shift of formation because I said in recent weeks it's not really been working. I thought it was even worse. I thought that they couldn't play that system. The back three, the back five just wasn't working. They started the second half, first 5-10, looked a bit more solid. Too easy to play against in terms of the goals they're conceding is far too easy. And Brighton were just so comfortable today. I bet they couldn't believe how easy and comfortable it was tonight.
Yeah. There's a lot of red on that page.
There is.
But also, when you look here at their last 114 years it's been since Chelsea have lost 5 in a row without scoring. It's really difficult to see how they're going to be able to pick up the momentum when they're on this kind of run.
Yes, and momentum is the key word there. I think, you know, there was certainly positives from the Manchester United game of last in terms of them creating chances. So when you're creating chances, you feel as though you're in the right direction. You know, these are the remaining fixtures coming up. I mean, the Leeds game, this semi-final, Leeds would have loved that fixture coming out because they looked at Manchester City and gone, maybe not. Southampton, they probably expected to beat them. They come up against Chelsea. You know, they'll be watching that performance tonight going, we've got every chance of getting to an FA Cup final. And then after that, Forest fighting for survival. Liverpool have still got things to prove and play for. We know the position Spurs are in and Sunderland are also flying. I look at that, guys, and I'm thinking, I don't know where they could pick points up, especially with the sort of confidence that they're in at the moment.
But like you said, Leeds tonight are probably watching this thinking, we've got a wounded animal here. You know, we've got a chance in the semi-final, whereas Chelsea going into a semi-final against Leeds, no disrespect, with an opportunity to hit a final, they should be licking their lips, ready to go. But this is a bit of a wounded Chelsea squad at this moment in time. And you've been there, Steve, as well. Confidence and momentum is a big thing. Yeah. So going in tomorrow's training, all of a sudden, is not the same vibe as it is when you're on a good run or good off the back of a good result. So it's going to be a tough few days for the manager and for the squad to galvanise themselves and get themselves fired up for this semi-final because this, like I said, the FA Cup now is a strong word, a must, you know, to save the season in some ways. But it needs to be a hell of a lot better than what it was tonight.
How does he turn things around now, Liam Rosenior, after this performance?
It's going to be very difficult. You know, he's picking up, you can see there the body language them after. For me, at the moment, when I look at this Chelsea team, I don't see enough playing for now. I see a Chelsea team, and this is not all of them, and we would have been in dressing rooms as well when we see players like this. They're listening to all the noise from outside, you know, protests against the board, relationships between the fans and the team, relationship between the fans and the board. They're waiting for a change to happen now, whether that's going to be with the manager or a change of ownership. It seems like players are waiting for a change. They're waiting for a change. They're waiting for next season. Well, make a change now. You know, I don't mean the manager. I mean as a player. Step up. You make the change. You know, be bold enough to go, look, the leadership group, whoever many there are, galvanise, shut the dressing room door, you know, have an in-house council, have an in-house meeting and go, listen, the only people that can get out of this are us. That's what the fans want to see. That's what they want to see. As a Chelsea fan myself, I look at the season and I'm going absolutely miles off where they want to be in the project that what Chelsea have got.
But this is a different talking point as well, because what you've just said there is correct, and also that sometimes in difficult moments and difficult runs you rely on experience. You rely on, which again has been called for in this young Chelsea squad, don't get me wrong. The bulk of this squad is very exciting, very young and ready to obviously build for the future. But alongside that, you sprinkle in some experience, because in these tough moments, it's not just about experience on the pitch, it's about experience off the pitch. Like what Steve just said, it's about experience, like how's Liam going to turn this around? He'll have his ideas, but also the players need to get together. And in certain times when I've been at the club, there would be a meeting in the changing room where the manager's not even involved. There would be players getting told, there would be truths being told in their meetings, and the standards driven in the training sessions to turn this back around. And that comes with experience, which I think is lacking in this Chelsea squad. I heard the owner speak, obviously, and he touched upon maybe the philosophy changes slightly. And I do think that would be a big help. We've even had it in the past where, you know, the leadership group will get called in with the manager. Listen, what's going on? Feeling in the group, this player's not pulling his weight, this player's not pulling his weight, which would be down to the squad and down to us to get into them a little bit in training and to make sure they step up to the level. But them conversations would be had, and also I feel would help the manager in these times. Unfortunately, at the moment, because of the young squad, you know, there's a handful of players you might be able to rely on in that sense. Enzo, Reece, players like that. But there just isn't enough at the moment to turn it around. And a lot of these young players are experiencing this for the first time, the noise, the pressure. And I feel like that's what we saw tonight. When I say like a fragile Chelsea team, is I think because of that. Even top players struggle with confidence at times. But experienced players have been through so many scenarios, so many things in the game, they can help to get yourselves out of this. With a young squad, sometimes it's a bit tricky.
And they do have a very young squad.
Yeah.
When you're looking at this table as well, Steve, is sixth now really their only hope? Because as we mentioned before, Aston Villa, if they win the Europa League but they finish fifth, it could go down to sixth and then into the Champions League.
Yeah, I mean, it's a huge gap between, you look at 48 points, 55, a 7 point there. You look, and again, it's momentum. When you're in that dressing room and you're looking at games and you're going, is that 3 points, is that a draw? You know, momentum is absolutely key. For them to gain 7 points, Liverpool to lose a few games as well, it's a huge ask at the moment for Chelsea. I think at the moment, the way that the situation that they're in, I think sixth place would be the one that they're going to be having to focus on.
OK, well, Brighton very much in this race then, aren't they, for European qualification? Let's hear now from two of the goal scorers tonight, Ferdy Kadioglu and Danny Welbeck, are chatting with Johnny Phillips.
Ferdy, that was a fantastic win, a fantastic performance. Was that the level now? Is it that the best level you've set so far this season?
Probably, yeah. The last weeks we were on a good flow. We had a difficult period, but after that, we're doing very well. And I think today we didn't let them breathe. Amazing game from everyone, every player, and we have to continue like this because we have some goals this season.
It's a great way of saying it, not letting Chelsea breathe. It felt like you strangled them very early on as well. Was that the key to go at them early on?
Yeah, we knew from the beginning that we have to play hard, and Chelsea, of course, they have good players, and if you are tied to them, they can't do much, and I think we did that amazing.
Danny, you were watching on for much of it. It looked like a really fluid performance. What was your view of it from the bench, for starters?
Yeah, I think as Ferdy mentioned before, we started well. We got an early goal, which really put us in a great position at the start of the game. But I think everyone, down to a man on the pitch, was brilliant, winning their duels, fighting for the ball, winning second balls and everything. So it was a really good performance, really strong. It's good to get the 3 goals as well and a clean sheet, which is positive, and it sets us up nice going into the last few games of the season.
And the way you're coached, does it look like a team that can move around so quickly into different positions as well? We even saw JP Van Heck popping up, right in forward positions there.
Yeah, well, JP is an incredible player. Not only is he just an incredible centre-back, but he's got the ability to, to step into midfield, to create things from the back, and as you've seen today, stepping into midfield and playing passes, decisive passes as well. So you've got to use your players, use the strengths of them, and I think the way the manager sets us up, we always have a lot of different patterns where players are rotating. I think when players are stepping forward with the ball, there's a lot of options for them to play forward.
Ferdy, how enjoyable is it to play in a team like this when you have those options to go forward and you're asked to attack and you're asked to do these creative things?
Yeah, amazing. If everyone playing simple and do the principles, then we know we can play very well and we can beat every team. I think we showed that before, and today we showed it again.
And in terms of looking ahead for the rest of the season now, Europe firmly in your sights?
Yeah, that's the goal at the moment. A few weeks ago didn't look like that, but now we are in an amazing flow and we aim for the highest place.
Danny, do you think it's a reasonable target, that?
I think it's reasonable for us to focus on the next game. As you've seen this season, we've always had distractions that might take your eye off looking too far ahead. It's important for us to focus on the next game, and that's what you're getting out of me, mate.
Well said. Well, it was a great performance all round, and you both scored a couple of great goals. But Ferdy is the player of the match. Done the honours, Danny?
Player of the match, mate. Brilliant. Keep it up, mate.
Thank you. You got plenty of them, so thank you.
Well done, guys.
Didn't want to give too much away there, did he, Danny Welbeck? It was such a good performance from Brighton, wasn't it? And they really took control so early on in this game.
Yeah, look, again, you're coming up against a vulnerable Chelsea team, and that was 100% the game plan today. Let's get right out the blocks, let's put them on the back foot, let's create a chance if we can early. And they fortunately, they got that. They had a chance just before that, and then from this corner, I mean, Chelsea make a real hash of it. But Kadioglu there, that was, as you see, he's highlighted there. Yep, he's free at the back, and it's a bit fortunate how the ball kind of just falls to him. But it's one of them. As long as you get it on target, you've always got a chance of scoring. Takes a deflection, but Gary, this header has to be cleared down.
Yeah, it has to be spoken. There's a little nudge there, but he needs to be stronger and clear the ball from that area. Like you said, just falls to Kadioglu, and this was the best start for Brighton, the worst start for Chelsea. But we talked about momentum, and like I said, Brighton are coming into these games with momentum and belief, and that's the way they played tonight. This was a potential handball in the lead up to the
Was it handball for you?
Goal. I want to say yes, but there's not enough in it. No, I don't think so. What do you think, Steve? I don't think there's enough in that.
Listen, it hits his hand. It's obvious there. Is it on purpose? It bounces down. It ricochets. It hits his hand. But look from there. Yeah, I mean
that was not a great angle of it there. But I didn't think at the time that it was not enough in it. And again, I talked about it's too easy to play through. The 2v2 there. Caicedo trips, slips, gets waste off the ball. However you want to say it. Next minute, you 2v1. And this is from a direct goal kick. This is what I'm saying, it's too easy to play against. Direct goal kick, 2v2, next minute you 2v1, send them back in it. It's too easy.
You're happy that he got the goal as well, because he had a really good opportunity in the first half, didn't he, Jack Hinchelwood, to score? So he'll be pleased that he got on the score sheet.
Yeah, of course he would. Yeah, he's got a great mindset, Jack, and that would have played on his mind. So for him to get another chance, and look, this is the third goal, and it really sums up the two teams there. Chelsea had two attempts there to try and clear it. Brighton, they get to the byline, and it's obviously Danny Welbeck that's got there. But look, no real desire to go and win it once, twice. And look at Welbs there, just holding back. And this man is on absolute
I was just going to say, let's have a mention about Danny Welbeck, by the way, this season. I mean, the age is out, the way he's performing.
Yeah, best scoring season so far this season.
Credit to him. He's been terrific.
Do you think the World Cup? I think he should be in the World. I think he should have a chance of going to the World Cup in terms of a replacement for Kane. It's something that goes on. Someone in fine form. That's what you want going into a tournament.
I mean, fine form, experience. He's doing all he can at this moment in time, in terms of this season and his goal scoring record. But like I said, Brighton to a man tonight was fantastic, and they thoroughly deserve the win.
OK, well, it was a very good performance from...
Now it will test every bit of confidence in the ownership, with their sporting directors, with this project about bringing these young players together. The ones, some will sell on for more money, some will hopefully make this team win stuff. They're miles away from that right now, and there's too much of... It's like an experimental project. And if there's one club that haven't been that over the last decade, it's Chelsea. They want to win straight away. They fire a manager. They bring in the top players. They win. And this is so far away from that. It's awful to see it.
There's no cohesion whatsoever. If somebody would have said to me that those players that started for Chelsea were all signed last night and had never ever played together before, I would have believed them. And you can see the face of the Chelsea fans. There was supporters leaving earlier. Now, to go back to your point, Robbie, where you say, you know, the way that Chelsea's always been has been, for instance, success. The reason that they gave them success, and it goes back to another point that you made, is that they brought serial winners in as manager, and they brought serial winners in as players. And what they did, not only did they bring the quality, they brought that character, they brought that know-how with them. You're putting a group of very talented young players here together and just saying, go and get on with it.
And with a young manager.
That's what I'm saying.
Now, Brighton, you can do that, and like they want to find the future stars at Brighton, managers and players, and they've done a brilliant job. And we shouldn't underestimate what this means for Brighton and how they do it. But we said it for years on the show, Cara, that the Brighton recruitment is astonishing. Same with Brentford, same with Bournemouth. So whoever they sell, they're going to be fine because they've got good players coming in all areas, and it's just like a conveyor belt of really good players.
The difference between Brighton, though, and Chelsea, and this is just one difference, Brighton have an identity. So when they're going out to sign players, they know what they want, they know what they're looking for. It's like Chelsea going to a sweet shop and say, I'll have one of them, I'll have one of them, and I'll have one of them. And then it's like, oh, I'm not too sure that I like this one, I'm not too sure that I like it. It's an identity.
But the sweets are all young sweets then, because they're all, you say an identity, but this project is requiring young players.
That's fine, but if you look at that group of players, there's a number of players that, OK, young players coming into the team, that aren't even playing in their preferred position. So they've been brought in and, you know, they're going to be these star players. But you need, and I don't care, it stands the test of time. If you want to have success in any league in the world, you have to have a blend, which is young players, older players, because the older players help the younger players, and then the younger players help the older players. The Chelsea players, who are they looking to? You make a great point about Liam Rosenior. They can't look to him for guidance, and they look around the dressing room and it's like, there's not much experience there. Where do we go?
Just one thing to add. I hope we get to hear from Liam Rosenior because, my goodness, he needs to show a strong side right now.
But he doesn't have the experience. This is the biggest issue.
But he's got to explain that's not acceptable. I'm going to, you know, or else he'll lose everybody. Even more than he's lost them right now.
Who is the most experienced player in Chelsea's locker room right now?
As in terms of what... There's Reece James, but as in terms of, like, winning things...
I mean, Enzo Fernandez is a World Cup winner with Argentina.
But the issue...
And he's been talking about leaving.
But the issue with...
And was suspended by the club as a result.
Right.
But the issue with what you say there, Robbie, and I agree wholeheartedly, Liam Rosenior, he should come out and he should be able to dig some of the players out. Do you think the players are going to be bothered? I really don't, because if this was Maresca, I think it's a different scenario. But I think with this scenario here, if Liam Rosenior comes out and has a little bit of a go at the players, I don't know how much it means.
Well, you saw that sign from one of the lone supporters of Chelsea's left in the crowd, and it was to Blueco, the consortium. We want our Chelsea back. There was a protest before the match against Manchester City. They feel there has been a continued erosion of the clubs that they own. It has been a few years that this has been in the...
Well, Jack, congratulations on that win. A big win at home to Chelsea. The unbeaten run now stretches to 5 games. I mean, how dominant of a performance was that?
Yeah, I think we were obviously a bit disappointed with aspects of our performance on Saturday, and we definitely let our frustrations out tonight. I thought the intensity we played at was incredible, really. The way we started the game and kept going throughout was really good, so I think we deserved the 3-0 win in the end. Yeah,
you mentioned that start. I mean, how much confidence did it give the players to score the opener after just 3 minutes?
Yeah, it's massive. Obviously, we work on set pieces. Yeah, we've been working hard, probably not got our rewards, so to score from a set piece was nice, and I think that really set the tempo for the game. Also, the fans were unbelievable today. I think the place was rocking, and that can only help us going forward. I think when you get that backing from the supporters, it makes you want to leave even more on the pitch than what we already do.
Could you almost sense the nerves within the Chelsea camp in terms of how they were playing in those sort of opening 20 minutes or so?
I think it was our intensity more, just the way we pressed, and we put them under pressure and forced them into some errors, and yeah, you know, we tried to do that every week, but I think particularly today the way we started was really set the tempo for the game.
I mean, that first half could have ended 2-3-0. You had a big chance, didn't you? Talk to me about that moment.
Yeah, I mean, obviously I've been wanting to score a goal for a while, and you know, when you want it so bad, maybe you can put too much pressure on yourself, and you know, I was just trying to hit the target, and I think the defender on the line read it well. But I knew that I was going to score today. I just had a feeling, and so I didn't get myself down. I just kept going, working hard, and Georgie put one on a plate for me. So yeah, I just kept going.
Yeah, you must have been really pleased with that goal in the second half.
Yeah, I think it was massive for me. I've had so many chances the last few weeks, and to take one today was really nice.
And just one finally, you have jumped above Chelsea in the table. You're just a couple of points off 5th place. So do you think this team can secure Champions League football for next season? Is that something that you are even thinking about?
Of course, you know, we try not to look at the table. We're just taking game by game, as boring as that sounds. You know, we're on a good run at the minute, and I think that's come from doing the basics well, training well, and showing that intensity that we did today. And if we can continue that for the rest of the season, I'm sure we'll pick up more points than we lose.
Yeah, absolutely. Congratulations on the win.
Nice one. Thank you very much.
Oh, very level-headed there from Hinshelwood in terms of not getting too carried away. But you can understand why Brighton are starting to believe. An incredible run of form. How pleased were you for him to see him on the score sheet then, especially after that miss in the first half? He said he's wanted to score a goal.
Do you know what? I've watched them quite closely over a number of weeks, and he started playing in that 10. He's been really helpful for them because usually it's been Gross and Milner, who maybe lack a little bit of athleticism these days. So he was the athleticism in the midfield behind Danny as well. And he's been crashing the box, and he times his runs really well, and he's missed a couple of opportunities. And I've been able to see that building up, that frustration a little bit, snatching at things. And then eventually, obviously, it came to fruition today when he misses that easy chance that Belieber puts on a plate for him. Listen, you've got to give credit to Chalobah, because I think he gets back well and reads the situation. But here you can see it's not a brilliant finish. He keeps it on target. What he does really well is he stays on side and eventually scuffs it into that bottom corner, and you can just see that weight being lifted off his shoulders.
Yeah, it's a poor goal from Chelsea's point of view. It really is. There's a handball there. It's not handball, I don't think. It's just deflected up to his hand. There's a slight coming together there. I don't think that's enough to give a foul. You know, you can see it there. And then they keep there, 2v1. Ruta just times it perfectly. And we think Sanchez probably he's got to trust that his defender's going to cover the left-hand side of the goal. He just leaves too much of a gap on that near side, and there's no chance of him saving. Which
Chalobah does, doesn't he? He does get back just enough to cover that side of the goal.
If he goes, unless he lifts it, and that's complicating it, look, it's the only option Hinshelwood had in the end, and I think, you know, you can't blame Sanchez, but a canny goalkeeper might have just left that there a little bit open and gone early. I've played with goalkeepers, Ray Clements being one, would have done that. One-on-one, the odds are against you. He used to come up with some real good tricks, you know, and con the striker, but Sanchez just came out on the wrong line.
So Hinshelwood with the second, and then Brighton did get the third late on. He may not have started the game this evening, Glenn, but that doesn't stop him getting amongst it and reminding people just what he can do, and he's done so well this season, Danny Welbeck.
No, well, I mean, he does well there, just to ease the defender out of the way, to let that ball continue out to that left-hand side. And then, obviously, as all good strikers do, first thought, can I get between the goal sticks? Can I make that run? We just see him here, just ease the defender out of the way. That ball goes where it needs to go without him touching it, and then drifts into the box. And when that ball arrives at his feet, he's fresh, he's just come on. It's all about purchase on the ball, directing it in the right way, getting the right strength on the ball to beat the goalkeeper. Quite close to Sanchez, but Danny Welbeck, in the form he's in this season, was never, ever going to miss that chance.
That was his 13th Premier League goal of the season. The joint most, you may not be in vision, but I'm going to tell the viewers that you just eye-rolled at me. The joint most goals in a season for Brighton in Premier League history. Another player coming for, well, your records.
Yeah, I mean, it should have been passed by now, in all honesty, because the club's got much better. They've been in Europe on a couple of occasions. We were a very different team back then when I hit that record. Listen, he should beat it this year, but credit to him. He's 35, similar age to what I was, and like was mentioned on comms a couple of times, top scoring Englishman in the Premier League, and with his form, putting himself in with a shout to go to the World Cup.
Yes, he certainly is. OK, let's now hear from the Brighton boss. Fabian Herzler has been given his post-match thoughts.
How do you assess that performance? It looked very, very good watching on from the sidelines.
Yeah, I think we played a good football game in every phases. So we defended well, we played intense, we had a good structure in possession, we created a lot of chances. So all, I think, good performance, deserved win, good result for us, and now we have to keep going.
The start looked particularly impressive as well.
Yeah, I think it was not only the start, also what I always say is about consistency. So we played over 90 minutes a good football game, not only like phases of the game. And of course, at the beginning we saw the goal that helped us massively to get into the game, to create a nice atmosphere together with the fans. And again, another great night, another great connection with the fans, great environment, great atmosphere. So overall a positive night, and now it's about staying humble, it's about refreshing, and then we have to go again.
The players have to create that atmosphere themselves, though. What was it in particular, do you feel, in that first half that gave you that sort of, not comfort in a way, because it was only one goal, but it got the crowd on side straight away?
I think the most important is that the players, and we all give the crowd the feeling we give everything for them. We want to make them proud. We want to make them proud that they can go out and wear the Seagulls colours, and therefore we need to play with energy, we need to play with effort, we need to bring our potential on the pitch. And sometimes, like, not everything works out, but what you can always bring on the pitch is doing the basic things, and it's about playing intense, about playing simple, attacking the box, trying to do something, trying to create something. That's our style of play, and that's what we always give to our fans.
Chelsea changed their structure in the second half, and it put you on the back foot for a little spell. Was it really important then that you went again?
Yeah, of course we expected a change, but it's not that easy in a half-time to know exactly what the opponent will do. But overall, I think we showed great leadership on the pitch. The players took responsibility. They stayed in the game. Yeah, a few minutes, I think we were on the back foot, but they managed it quite well. And then we got back on track. We got back to our identity. And I think afterwards we played it also in the second half quite well.
This takes you up to the European places now as well. Is that something that you can reasonably target now between now and the end of the season?
I think our approach will always stay the same. Since I arrived here, it's the same approach. It's about performance, it's about improvement, it's about making the next step. And therefore, we want to be known as a club that has a clear style of play. We want to be known as a club who's there for young players, to develop young players. But we also want to be known as a club who has ambitions and who has strong expectations on themselves, and that's what we have. And therefore, we need to keep working hard to fulfill them.
It's only a few weeks ago when you were going through some difficult moments as well. What do you feel the key has been to going up again and now sort of reaching these new levels?
First of all, great personalities, great characters I work with. No matter if it's a staff member or a player, they all stick together. They show really good values inside of them. They always show the good work ethic. Second, I think we are able to manage the games better. We are able to play more consistent football. And third, I think it's the connection with the fans, that we rebuild this connection, that we really build this environment, that we are able to make them proud, that we are able to give them what they deserve. And that's every weekend our fullest potential for them. And not always we can win, but that's always our intention, to go on the pitch and make them proud.
Yeah, certainly felt a connection between Brighton and their fans this evening. And when you look at that Premier League table, you can see why. This club has shown so much progress in recent years, gradual progress. Is Europe, we're not going to hear Hinchelwood or Hertzler say it, they're not going to say it, they're saying to take it a game at a time. You're not playing anymore. You can say it. Can they start believing? Can they start dreaming?
Yeah, without doubt, they're in the conversation. But when you just look below them, there's 3 or 4 teams that can overtake them with a win. So, at the moment, if you pause it now, it's brilliant. But I think it's, Brentford, Bournemouth, Everton have all got a game in hand and could go equal or above them. So they're very much in that conversation. And I think when you reflect on 6 weeks ago, where they've got to, where they were, he's done an incredible job. I think when he talks about consistency, 9 times over the years, Brighton as a team, and I think his team probably managed games in the Premier League as good as any Brighton team I've seen.
Hinchelwood, in his interview, Glenn, deflected from the fact that when he was asked, could you sense nervousness early on, and he was keen to, understandably, look at the intensity that Brighton started the game with. But from a Chelsea point of view, just how worrying was it, the way they started, the way they played in the middle and the way they finished the game?
From the first minute to the last minute, they had a little spell for 5 minutes when they changed the shape in the second half when they come out, but they didn't really pepper. The goalkeeper didn't have to make a save for Brighton.
No shots on target.
No shots on target. I think that sums it all up. But inside of all that, they've conceded 3 goals again, but there was no pressing of the ball. There was no desire to win the ball back collectively. they look like a team that had their mind, as I said, on the semi-final at the weekend. Don't get injured for that game. They're still going for a Champions League spot. Look at these efforts here that they're trying to win the ball. That's the third time they've tried to win it. OK, this one's a little bit, it was under possession, but they win it back, then they give it away, and then they're wide open. And I mean, you know, it could have been 4 or 5 at the end of the day, and I think that would have had a truer reflection. You're 2-0 down. How are you going to get back in this game where we're going to play the ball 3 yards from the corner flag and try and build up from there? No, I'm sorry. That's on a night like that, the way they were playing, that was never going to happen. Beautiful play from Brighton. Now, on the Brighton side of things, if you change their shirts and you put red shirts on them and they're Man United or they're Arsenal, you go, what a performance.
Yeah.
What a team. We don't give them enough credit. That's the shot that Casado's taken late on in the game, and it summed it all up. And this is a weird one because they've gone over to their fans. Normally you give them a clap and you get down that tunnel. Thanks for the support and get down. But they sort of almost stared them out. You know, it was a strange performance from the first minute to the last minute. It really was. There was no pattern of play. It was individuals sort of really, I felt, they had their minds at the weekend. These are going for the Champions League still. They've got everything to play for. They're in a dreadful run. They never showed any character whatsoever. They've lost game after game after game. At least you go out with a bit of pride as a professional and you play and you make it difficult for the opponents. Brighton were excellent tonight, and I think, again, as I said, if they put different coloured shirts on them and say they're Man United or whoever, you go, what a team they are. What a good side, and we don't give that enough credit.
476 minutes without a goal for Chelsea, as we saw just then. And those full-time scenes, we were almost in disbelief in the studio watching them, Glenn. It was almost like they couldn't believe the performance that they just put in, kind of standing, watching the fans, waiting for something back. I don't know what it was.
Well, it's almost like an apologetic look, wasn't it? But when you mention those minutes, that's 19 years. Since they last did that, and there will be huge concern about Chelsea. We've seen how much they chop and change managers in recent years through very little. So I think it will be a concern. At the moment, the output of this team, because we all know it's better, it's got much more potential in it and quality in it than it's showing. Granted, João Pedro and Cole Palmer weren't there today, so you've got to give them a little bit of leeway, but it is a concern just in their approach, their desire to get back into their game and the intensity to work for the badge.
Is it also a concern, Glenn, the fact that there were, I know they lost at the weekend against Manchester United, but there were some green shoots of positivity, some signs that maybe certain things were working a bit better, but maybe it was a lack of end product, whereas tonight it sounds like you haven't seen a single thing.
I didn't see anything there. I didn't see a character, a personality in the team. I didn't see any creativity. I never saw a team working together defensively and with the ball. They looked as if they were set up in a way, and within a minute of us looking at the game, they were lopsided. Their shape, they said we played 3 at the back and the fullbacks didn't know whether to push on. Cucurella had 2 players all the time. There was a get-out ball for Brighton every single time a midfield player had it. There were spare players. They sewed it up down their right-hand side with Neto in that defensive. I thought Neto might play as the number 10 around Delap. That was never evident, and I couldn't understand how they set up from the first minute. And I always felt Brighton, as we said at the opening shots there, I felt Brighton were going to win today, but they made it very easy, Chelsea.
I tell you what, let's get some reaction from the Chelsea camp now, because here's the thoughts of Trevor Chalobah.
Trevor, I appreciate it's difficult to come out straight after a game, but did that feel like a massive step backwards today?
Yep, yeah, it did. Yeah. We gave it all, just not the best side.
It looked a very, very difficult opening 20 or so minutes as well. Why do you feel that was?
I don't know. We obviously had a game plan. We tried to execute it, and yeah.
Was it the game plan that was the problem? Was it the way you executed it?
No, like it's just. We tried our best. We obviously worked on it throughout the week, and yeah, obviously, as we see, we got beat today, but we just got to go again. As you know, we got to go again, and can't dwell on these moments, and we've got to look forward to the next game.
There are ways of losing a game. You touched on it before the match about the Manchester United performance, and that felt like a performance that wasn't there as well, though. Did you see the frustration amongst the Chelsea supporters when they see what they did this evening?
Yeah, obviously we can hold we can be accountable, you know, and as players we have to be accountable for the performance, and yeah, obviously, you know, how much the fans have been behind us, and yeah, we know they're disappointed at the moment. No results, we haven't been winning at the moment, but we just have to stick together and pull through.
Did it feel like a collective failure of the team when you look there, and when Brighton seemed to be there for the second ball more often than not, and seemed to be there with the press more often than not?
No, definitely. I think personally the boys, they were running their socks off. You know, we ran. You can see in the change room everyone's tired. It's nothing to do with effort, you know. We gave it all, and yeah, just got beat today.
I appreciate that you ran and you are tired, but the running stats show that Brighton did actually do more running in the game as well. I know there's far more to it than just that as well, but do you feel you could have stepped up a bit more?
We ran today. Yeah, obviously you can say the stats this, the stats that, but I can see the boys are tired. We ran, so I don't know.
Where do you feel this leaves the team going forward now? Does it put a huge amount of pressure on the FA Cup semi-final? Because it looks as though you're dropping down the league quite quickly.
As I said, we just have to pick ourselves up, and we've got a semi-final to come, and it's a massive game at Wembley again. Obviously, us being in another semi-final, we have to use that as a positive, and yeah, try and obviously approach the game with a strong mentality, and try to obviously pick ourselves up from this defeat, and yeah, just stay positive.
It's obviously a hugely disappointing night. How easy is it to stay positive, though? You're all professional footballers, but I sense there is a real dejection here as well. Is the mentality there within the group, in the dressing room? Can the positivity be found?
Yeah, we have to stay positive. Negativity it's not going to help. Like us being negative, us dwelling on the past is not going to help the situation. So we have to, no matter what happens in life, you have to keep going forward and keep pick ourselves up.
Appreciate your time. Thanks.
Well, sometimes you can't get too much information from a post-match interview, and whilst Trevor Chalobah didn't say too much there, Glenn, his body language and the lack of what he did say maybe gives us a good insight into how that Chelsea dressing room's feeling tonight.
Yeah, I mean, especially him being a Chelsea boy, I'll probably feel this a little bit more than others. You can tell how disappointed he is. Obviously, I'm sure they've had it out in the dressing room. Listen, we've both been in dressing rooms, and performances like that, you know, when you've been in the field, are unacceptable. Funnily enough, it was the second most Chelsea had ran this season, probably because they're out of possession so much and they were chasing the ball for large periods. I mean, that surprised me, in all honesty. It did feel like they were outrun and outfought on all fronts, but it wasn't. That was just the narrative the game threw towards me. That's how I felt about it. But yeah, I mean, his interview was as flat as the performance, really.
Yeah, he said about there it wasn't to do with effort, as Glenn said. Then he mentioned the running stats, the fact they did run, and the fact that they can't dwell. But it is the most concerning thing the fact that a number of the performances have been like that. Three of the last four, they've lost by 3 goals to nil.
Well, that's the problem. As a manager, you look for patterns, good patterns and poor patterns, and it's off the back of time and time again. So there's a lot of work to be done mentally to get to the semi-final. They've got to lift themselves.
Glenn, Liam Rosenior not pulling any punches in that post-match interview. They're unacceptable, indefensible, and I imagine you echo those thoughts.
Yes, you cannot defend that performance, and I think the players know that. And there would have been strong words said. If there hasn't been all season or in this run, that was the opportunity for a manager to really have a go at the players and say, look, that's not acceptable. But he's got, the next 3 days are more important. That's gone now, it's history. They've got to pick themselves up.
Yeah, because of course got a semi-final in the FA Cup on Sunday. That's where we're going to leave it tonight. A reminder, there's 2 more games to come tomorrow night, but a brilliant night for Brighton and a very disappointing one for Chelsea. Good night.